what's it? I'm blanking right now. The actual, it's not like CGI or anything. It's actual
practical.
Practical. There you go. It escaped me for a second. The practical effects in that. So those were I really enjoyed that. But what about you? Did you have a couple of favorites? I'm like blanking on werewolf movies, but I know I've seen tons of them.
Well, of course you have like the OG Wolfman from the Universal Monsters that came out, I think, in the early 40s.
Funny enough, I've never seen that one. I always see it in movies, like horror movies or just movies that happen to have a Halloween theme. That movie's always playing in the background.
Yeah.
But I've yet to see it though.
You should check it out. You should watch all of them. Especially since we're talking about a werewolf movie again this week, we can bring this up. But Leigh Whannell and Ryan Gosling are making their own spin on the Wolfman once again, and it's supposed to be it's supposed to be like the Invisible Man with was Kate, what's her name from?
The one that just came out 2 years last year.
Yes. What's her name? Damn it.
It is. I'm finding it right now. Elizabeth Moss.
Elizabeth Moss, the Scientologist. Yes. Anyway, yeah, but they're going to do the Wolfman somehow like that.
That's cool. Is that supposed to be in that universe, or are they still trying to build that monster universe?
I'm not sure if they're just doing the standalone things, which I personally think that they should do it like that.
Yeah.
And then if they want to try to do something later, they can. But yeah. Anyway, that's coming down the pipe. It's pretty exciting because I don't think Ryan Gosling, besides the Little Things, I think it's called, he hasn't really dove into anything really horror-ish, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that he's gonna be our new Wolfman is nuts.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Under the direction of somebody like Leigh Whannell, who obviously can make a great film.
Yeah.
Going back to some of my favorites, I am a fan of Underworld, and I don't agree with you that it's not a werewolf movie because the whole premise is vampires versus lycans.
Yeah.
So it's very much a werewolf film, and you get to see them quite a bit. And there's a few sequels, but I think in my opinion, the first one is the greatest.
Oh, for sure.
What are some other ones? An American Werewolf in London, of course, even though, like my buddy Chris has said, fuck John Landis for what he did. Trying to think of Gingersnaps, as I said on the Howling episode. Amazing. One of the best ones. I think it came out in 2000. The original Gingersnaps is so fucking good and underrated. If you haven't seen that yet, man, you should check it out. Gingersnaps.
I have not. I'll check that one out. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I think you really dig it. And then, of course, shout out to my boy Ryan. Wolf Cop. Wolf Cop is rad.
Okay, I haven't seen that one either.
You haven't seen that one? I thought you had.
No, Wolf Cop. No, I don't know. Wolf Cop.
It's basically it's self-explanatory. It's about a wolf cop.
Okay. No. Oh man, this I'm looking at it right now. This looks insane.
Yeah, it's so good. I think it might
like the like Turbo Kid vibes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, then I should enjoy it. It looks pretty amazing.
Yeah, check out Wolf Cop. It may or may not be on Netflix. I could have sworn that you had seen that one. I guess I'm wrong. I was wrong about that. What?
No, I'm looking at it right now. I haven't seen this at all. This looks pretty insane.
I think...
You don't like Teen Wolf with what's his name?
Of course I like a Teen Wolf with
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox. Come on, man.
Yeah.
That was
the classic.
Yeah. I remember watching that as a little kid, and I'm just like, that's Marty McFly. That's so rad.
Yeah.
You know, when he's like surfing on the van, dude, so cool.
Yeah, that's insane. That looks like that's a really cool movie.
I think he was worried that movie was about doing that movie. Unless I'm confused.
Like gonna kill his career or something?
Yeah, that it was so stupid that he was like, he thought it was gonna be like the dumbest shit ever, but everybody loved it. Because it's him. And I honestly
think
believe
he sells it.
Definitely. Another big one that doesn't get talked about enough, Dog Soldiers is awesome. Dog Soldiers is super underrated, but one of
I've seen that. Yeah.
It's I think British, so everything is a little plays out a little differently, but it's super brutal, and the werewolves are just like these huge fucking giant creatures.
They're like 9 feet. Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. I remember this movie. Insane.
And then to touch on American Werewolf in Paris, I feel like that would, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. That's the one that I grew up on before seeing London, you know.
Right.
And
same here.
And apart from the shitty CGI, it's a great movie, you know what I mean? But it just sucks that it's called. I feel like if London didn't exist, or if this one was called something else, it probably would be a lot more beloved now. But it's got a great soundtrack and a rad cast. Talking about a shitty werewolf movie, Wes Craven's Cursed. Have you seen that with Christina Ricci and...
Yes, I have seen that.
Jesse Eisenberg before he was anybody.
When you mentioned her, I was like, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I've seen that just one time.
That's one that supposedly there's a director's cut that that's actually good, but the movie that we got, as far as that one goes, is pretty lame. The Monster Squad is a pretty good one.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Wolfman has nards.
Yeah.
The Werewolves in the Cabin in the Woods is pretty rad.
Yeah,
I think
those are badass.
Did we do an episode on that? I want to say we did.
Yeah, that was my pick way back when.
That's right. There's of course the Trick or Treat short story with Anna Paquin. So good. Oh
yeah, I love that one.
Because that one, that's another short story that completely subverts your expectations. We're expecting them to be the victims, and they're actually the predators.
Sheep in wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, and they play with the short story of Little Red Riding Hood, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just talking about the lore of werewolves, it's been around for so long. I think it stemmed from European folklore, and I think lycanthrope means like wolf human.
Okay.
So it's like a kind of hybrid between the two, which is pretty interesting. But if you want to toss it back to Werewolves Within, did you have a character that you cared about, or somebody that stuck out to you specifically for this one?
For this one, I enjoyed Sam Richardson, his character Finn. He was just like, oh heavens to Betsy.
Yeah.
You know, when things were happening, you know, like, and then he says it again, like right after, I think, when he finds the dead body, and he's like, heavens to Betsy, and he just keeps saying it. I think, you know, he plays the character very well. And was it Nicola Watkins. Oh, I could not stand her in this movie. I was like, oh my god, please, like the werewolf, take her, because I don't care about Cha-Cha. Stop reminding me about Cha-Cha.
Oh, Chachi, right?
Chachi, yes, Chachi. She's like, they killed Chachi, and then she's over there knitting like a psychopath. But this movie, for me, I was having I did have, from the beginning, some type of theory as to who it was, but then throughout the film, it kind of throws me around and kind of tests me on who I thought was the werewolf, or even if there really was a werewolf. Because towards the end, you start thinking, we're going to go into spoilers, obviously. You start thinking that Sam Parker, who is like the guy who runs the pipeline, you start to think, oh, this was all some type of thing by him. He orchestrated this whole thing to just basically kill the people who don't want the pipeline. At least that's where I was, towards the end, that's where I was going. I was like, oh, there's no werewolf at all. Everyone's just going fucking crazy. Like I said, with like mass hysteria, and they're killing each other, or they're or he's killing them off one by one, and then you start maybe think, oh, maybe Emerson, the crazy kook who lives up in the woods, is the werewolf, because obviously he's a big hairy guy who lives in the woods by himself. And one thing I did want to point out was I think it's like the intro. And it's a quote from Mr. Rogers, but when they read it out, it's like it's almost like terrifying, like the quote that they show you, because they show it line by line, and then it says like a quote by Mr. Rogers. I was like, holy shit! Like when you read it back in like a Mr. Rogers voice in your head, you're like, oh yeah, that's Mr. Rogers. You can hear that, but it's like, it was just it was funny that they did that, and they bring up Mr. Rogers again later in the movie, which I thought was funny. At one point, I thought it was Dr. Ellis, because she's kind of acting weird and sketchy. A lot of these people were acting sketchy toward middle of the movie. But I guess to answer your question again, I guess it's probably Sam Richardson or Finn, the Ranger, was probably my favorite. And then probably Cecily, because she was a postal carrier. I was like, dang.
Did you notice it wasn't the U.S.? I guess because they had such a small budget, they couldn't license to use like your official uniform, so they had to get
they took the eagle off, and it's just like an envelope instead of the eagle. But it's all the the colors and everything. Even the snow uniform is like exact. I'm sure they just got a postal uniform for snow, and just like took off the symbol and put their own on, which is funny. I did notice that in the beginning. I'm like, is that an eagle? I'm like, no, it's not an eagle. I'm like, but she's supposed to be a postal carrier, so that's funny. I didn't know she was one in the movie until watching the movie. I thought she was supposed to be like a police officer or something from the trailer.
In some bonus news, since you said you like Sam so much, did you know that he just got officially, or at least announced, I'm sure he's been cast for a while, but announced as a character in Hocus Pocus 2?
No way, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's cool to see like actors like blowing up, because I know he's not a big name guy, but he's getting his parts now, which is cool.
Definitely.
He's always like he's definitely a side character. I mean, no disrespect to him at all as an actor or anything, but he definitely, in things you see him in, he's not
like a supporting actor. Yeah.
Yes, and that's how I feel about a lot of these actors in this film. It's a big cast of like supporting actors that you, like I said, that you wouldn't typically think of when you think of a movie or anything. But putting all these characters together definitely worked for this film. They definitely wrote for all these characters. I feel like they wrote in their strengths as actors. I love the like I said before, the was it Joaquin and Devin?
It's Joaquin with an M.
Oh yeah, Joaquin.